Hello, and welcome to the first season of DigiFox Studios' new original podcast series, The Blood-Drawn Chronicles. Brought to you in part by Cool Comics and Games, Lee County's largest comics and gaming store, and the generous contributions of audiences like you. Thank you. The Blood-Drawn Chronicles Season 1, The Manuscripts of a Vampire, stars Nelson Ventura as Myrick, son of Meyer, Alyssa Kalugden as Karina Gallo, Paul Roberts as Lord Dragon, and Sterling Torville as Lord Tyrus Godfrey. To view the full cast, crew credits, and more, please visit www.digifoxstudios.com/tbdc. On behalf of everyone here at DigiFox Studios, we want to thank you for listening, and now our story begins. If you're reading this, I bestow a word of caution to those faint of heart. This book contains a record of events that occurred, and acts which I've committed during my time in the world of man. I am Myrick, son of Meyer, and these are the manuscripts of a Vampire. The Shobi. Mindless, bloodthirsty savages. Here their corpses now lay dead by my doing. My hands, and the ground upon which I stand, are painted red with the blood of these creatures. With the sunfire behind me now well extinguished, my sense of smell begins to return. As I prepare to take my leave, a strange sound catches my attention. It does not sound similar to the screeches of a Shobi. As it continues, I draw closer. I use my recently recovered sense of smell to pinpoint the location of this creature. My nose leads me to a house not too far from where I slaughtered the Horde. Its screaming has stopped, but its scent is still coming from inside this house. The doors and windows of this place have been smashed from both inside and out. I walk inside. At first look, one could tell this house once belonged to a modest little family. Though most of the furniture was torn to pieces, it's still simple to imagine what this interior once looked like. The drawers, which now lay with the rest of the remains, revealed their contents to be full of fabrics and sewing materials. One of the members of this house was a tailor. What I found further more interesting was another drawer that revealed finished attire. However, every piece of clothing I quickly rummaged through was too small for a man, or a child for that matter. As I begin to realize who these clothes were meant to adorn, that's when I heard the sound again. It was coming from a chest at the far end of the room, directly in front of me. I stepped forward and opened it. Words could not describe the moment my eyes gazed upon the contents inside. Instead of treasures, I found the unspeakable. There she was, not even old enough to walk, barely able to screech as they do. An infant turned Shobi. I place her in my hands. Her mind was too underdeveloped to be savage. She tries to put my finger in her mouth. She's too young to have even developed teeth. I cradle her in my arms, her fingers barely able to grasp my hand. I nestle her close to my chest. She was so innocent, not a vicious monster in the least. As I look into her empty eyes, I know what must be done. To grant her the pardon of such a cruel death, I reach into my pocket, but the sunfire stones have crumbled away to near dust. This creature is innocent. She does not deserve the same fate as the others. I look at her once more. She's content in my arms. She raises her arms, attempting to touch my face. I place my hand atop her head. She screeches. I allow her hands upon my face. I haven't the heart to condemn her to the same oblivion as I did her brethren. My heart gripped in despair, I turn to her, and I say, "You do not deserve to suffer the same fate as the others, and so I will not condemn you to wander the afterlife in the shadows of the dark abyss. Instead, I shall honor you properly after you pass, so that the angels of Olamdor shall know who you are, that they may guide you to your proper place, where you shall rest upon a field of azure, and the dead shall sing you sound asleep as you wait for your mother in eternal bliss." I did with her as I had to, staining my hands with the blood of the innocent. I wrap her severed head and her body with the fabrics I found in her home. I left her house, carrying her wrapped-up corpse in my arms. I flew with her to the outskirts of the town until I found an appropriate burial area near the water. I dug in the dirt until there was proper room enough to place her, at which point I cover her. Her body now properly resting in the dirt, I honored her with a moment of silence. I turn back in the direction of the town. As I make my return, I take a corner that leads me through a street where a small pack of shobi gather in front of me in the distance. As I approach the pack, they seem completely unaware of my presence. Quickly I strike. I finish the pack of 5 quite easily, but not before noticing why they ignored me in the first place. He lays on the ground, his torso and limbs covered in bite marks. He begins to cough up blood as he struggles to speak. I kneel down and lift his head slightly.
I tried my best.
That you did, and you shall die with honor. I place my other hand atop his head, and as I prepare to sever his head, he utters words which halt my actions.
You have to protect them. Please, promise me you'll keep them safe.
Who? He takes his hand and points in the direction of his feet. I turn my head and closely focus on where his finger points. As I turn once more to speak with him, the hand he uses to point falls flat on the ground. This man is now dead, and soon he shall turn into that which killed him. Once again, I do what must be done. I clear my thoughts and focus my efforts towards the direction this man pointed while barely clinging on to life. What was it he wanted me to safeguard? I pay close attention to any noise coming from the direction I was given. Slowly, my ears begin to hear thumps. They are masked by the sounds of the chaos around them. Still, I manage to make them out. Heartbeats. With no time to properly honor this man, I placed his severed head on his chest and wrap his arms around it. Quickly, I move in the direction of the beating hearts. As the screeches of the shobi in the distance begin to grow louder, I begin to lose the faint sound I'm tracking altogether. I stand lost. The heartbeats I found were too silent to be heard now. My nose is locked onto the scent of dead blood, which covers most of the walls and the grounds of this town. Even the corners of certain rooftops drip with blood. As some may say, when things are at their darkest, that's when you find a glimmer of hope through the gloom. That's how I felt when I heard it. Its sound cracked through the walls and handed me my location right in my hands. I turned towards its direction, and without a moment to lose, I rushed towards my destination. I enter a demolished house. Through the wreckage, I hear 2 hearts beating loudly, their paces quickening. I head towards its direction, and as I pull the pieces of wooden furniture that blockade them from me, I am in awe once more by what I discovered. 2 little girls hidden, encased within the ruins of this house. The elder girl wears a blue dress with her hair blonde in color. The youngest, a white dress with a small pink bow ornament atop her head. Her hair is blonde in color as well. She stands a head shorter than the elder one, whose height barely reaches my waist. The elder girl holds the youngest tightly, wrapping her arms around her head so as to avert her eyes from the truth of the world around them. I kneel down at eye level with them as I attempt to speak to the eldest. You need not fear me, child. I shall not harm you. She gazes at me and holds the younger one tighter. It's all right. I'm here to help you both now. What are your names? She hesitates at first, but my warm gestures begin to win her over. Gradually, she loosens her grip on the younger girl. They approach me closer. Tears fall from her eyes.
I'm Amelie. This is my sister Tilly.
Tilly. Emily. What lovely names. My name is Myrick. Can you say Myrick?
I can, mister, but my sister can't. Mommy said she was born without ears. She's never spoke.
I held them both in my arms. Their tears dampened both my vest and my shirt. At that moment, I knew what the stranger was doing in the middle of the street. He had given his own life so that these 2 girls could live. Had I not come and destroyed the pack which killed him, they would have most likely returned here. As I continue in thought, Amelie turns her head to me.
Myrick, do you know where my mommy is?
I look at them both as their faces continue to water. The pain my heart feels knows no measure. I retain my composure as I answer. Your mommy is in a very safe place now. A place away from all of this. A place full of beauty and wonder, where they play melodies of joy eternally.
Are there flowers there? Lily greens are her favorite.
As far as the eye can see.
Then I just know Mommy's happy there. When will we go see her?
On a silent night, when you hear the melody of the harp of the moon carried through the wind, you shall look to the moonlight and know your mother plays her song for you both.
But Tilly can't hear music. How will she know Mommy's song?
The song your mother plays on that night shall be heard by you both. This I promise you. Her face brightens with the warmest smile I've ever gazed upon. Her smile is so contagious, it spreads to her sister.
Can you take us there now? To the place full of lily greens?
One day, when the time is proper, you shall make that journey to your mother.
But Tilly and I want to be there now. Please?
I know you do. But, you see...
What's wrong?
Take your sister and hide where I found you.
Why?
Do as I say. Hurry.
Myrick, why?
Do not fear. No matter what you hear, everything will be all right. I swear it. With that, I close them in once more, just as I found them. The horde draws closer. I know they've locked on to my scent. As they continue forward, I count their numbers growing. Should I try to flee like the man did before me, I run the risk of these creatures finding the girls. a chance I am not willing to make. Above all, I shall keep them safe. I hear them as they surround the house. They begin to enter through every open area, including the rooftop. I find myself completely surrounded. I extend my claws once more. In numbers, they enter the quarters where I stand. I look at the horde now that encircles me. They will not succeed. As I finished ripping the head off the last of them, that's when it happened. Perhaps it was overconfidence that left me blind to the moment, as I was caught totally off guard by what happened next. The ceiling above us completely collapses. They descend to the ground floor by the hundreds. Just as I turned to gaze at the multitude that now entirely fill the room at every corner, that's when I heard the horrid sound of Amelie's screams. The impact of the fallen ceiling, combined with the massive weight of the horde, had broken the shelter where the girls hid. Desperately now, I fight my way through the horde. I try with all my might to reach the girls in time. This moment haunts my memory still. Time and time again, I've imagined that moment. With every possible outcome drawn, the outcome is always the same. I could not reach them in time. As fast as I could move, I managed to get as close as a child's length away from the girls, before the horde feasted on them as I watched helplessly. Their screams still find their way into my thoughts every so often. I stood there, unable to move. Before I knew it, I felt something bite my left shoulder, and then another my right shoulder, then another my rib, and then another, and another. And so it went, until I turned to find that when these monsters fed on my blood, the result was the same as the sunfire. Still they continued, and as time passed, I found myself on my knees, completely covered in ash. The room now empty. Whatever is left of the horde that attacked now scours with the wind. When the ash clears the room, I find the corpses of both girls in front of me. I bring them close. Once more, my heart breaks. My body heals from all the bite marks. They have drained me of my blood almost completely. I am barely strong enough to stand, yet I bring the girls into my arms and do what I know must be done. I finish, I leave, and I do not look back. And for the first time in this world, a tear falls from my eyes. I hear their screams once more in the distance, and though my powers have just about completely left me, I draw my sword. No matter what happens, tonight they fall. As I make my way outside, I stop to hear the sounds of someone clapping. I turn towards its direction. A pair of piercing yellow eyes is all that protrudes in the darkness. I hear the sounds of a dark, sinister laugh ascending out of the darkness. With it, a figure. I grow in shock to what my eyes witness before me. As the creature made its way into the light, it resembled a vampire in almost every way, from his skin to his pointed ears, to the fangs on both the top and bottom of his mouth. The only difference between him and a true vampire were, of course, his eyes, which were yellow instead of red, and the fact that he had no hair besides his eyebrows, which were black. A true vampire never loses his hair, and it is always but one color, white, like that of his skin. As he continued to laugh and applaud, I knew then the abomination that is the Horde King stood in front of me.
Bravo! I must say, you put on quite an amusing show, brother.
I am no brother to you.
I beg to differ. The resemblance between us is uncanny. I've never met another vampire of my likeliness before.
The only similarities between us is that we both don't belong in this world. I belong back in my world, and you belong in the darkest, coldest depths of Necros.
That's the spirit. I was beginning to think that little event inside the house had taken your will to fight. I mean, the way you stood there, helpless as my pets fed on those innocent little heifers. I must admit, I was surprised by what happened to them when they went for the prized bull himself. Once they bit you, poof, they were gone.
You witnessed everything through the eyes of your slaves.
You're a clever one.
They're linked to you, which means you caught wind of who I was the moment I began to slaughter them.
I even watched as you severed the infant, holding it in your arms like she belonged to you. And when I had her put her hands on your face, the look you gave, I knew then your little secret, friend.
You sent your horde here on purpose, didn't you?
Nothing gets past you, does it?
Including yourself. Take a good look around, for this shall be your gravesite.
I take it you're ready to fight me.
Fight you? No. I'm ready to kill you.
You want to try what so many before you failed to achieve. Have it your way. Tonight, I feast on your corpse, but not before having my way with your woman.
Karina.
She's fighting my horde off right now as we speak. She's a feisty one. So unwilling to give up, no matter the odds. But, like all mortals, she will eventually tire and fall. I wonder how much fight she'll have left in her when I have knowledge of her tonight.
Draw your swords.
Don't you wish to save her?
What for? You've already said you plan to lay with her later tonight, which means you've instructed your slaves to bring her to you unharmed after she eventually grows fatigued and falls.
Yet again you impress me with your deductive skills.
You fail in all merit to impress me, Plague Bringer. You fancy yourself something great, a king perhaps, but you're nothing but a king of leeches.
Why such poetic words? Is it because I play with my food?
This goes beyond that.
They were cattle. They're all cattle. They're meant for us to feast upon, after which I give them purpose as my pets. I liberate them from the turmoil of their pathetic, puny lives. For this mercy I grant them, I should be rewarded.
You're insane.
The only one who judges me that way are the cattle themselves. And who are they to judge their masters? Because they can speak does not mean they have the right to be heard. They pray to God, but they don't realize God made us to do his will unto them. What makes you side with them? Do you not feast on them when you feel the craving as well?
I have no craving for humans. I am no vampire. I am a Valpyr.
And what does that mean?
It means I am your executioner, and it's your time to die.